Good morning, Facebook, Instagram family. Thank you for joining me this morning for another episode of Back to the World, my brother and my sister's keeper. I'm Tony, and thank you guys for coming on. Any music you may hear in the background, we don't own the rights to. But if you have any comments, questions, or anything that you care to share, hit us in the boxes down below. All right? Getting started 15 minutes late this morning, but at the same time, too, we're definitely early because I haven't been able to come to you many mornings early. And this morning, I'm started late because, man, some days we have a camera that works, man, then other days the camera doesn't. So what it's basically saying, and this is what I don't get, man, I'm just griping, man. I'm giving you my complaints. It tells you that you can clear out a lot of your storage by getting rid of photos, videos, music videos, things of that nature. All right, messages and everything. So you go through it, you get most of it out. Now it's still telling you that you don't have a lot, you don't have storage. You just eliminated almost 200 plus photos. But it's telling you that, one click, now you're out of storage. And that can be frustrating. So what they do is they try to get you to buy different apps. And one of the apps is called Cleaner Kit. So you pay for the app, man, it goes through, and then, you go through the process. You go through the process of eliminating other pictures and everything, and then come only to find out that you still have not gotten rid of or not gotten more access to storage. It can become definitely frustrating. And the reason why I talk about this is because I've gone through this, man. And one day on one of my phones with the cameras, it gives me access to the camera, access to my photos, my gallery, and the whole bit. Well, a day later, it comes back and it says that my storage is full, and now I have to pay for more storage. And it's a ripoff, if you ask me, and that's what's happening, right? So it gets, like I said, it gets frustrating. There's some mornings, man, I don't even want to come on, bro. I'm not going to bullshit you. But this morning, what I wanted to talk about, it's part of what's happening with this damn camera. And, before I get frustrated and toss it against the wall, I'm just going to talk about what I'm talking about. I've noticed last night where Elon Musk and Donald Trump, through their forensic auditing, they've found another 8-point-something billion in monies that has no purpose or no allocation, or whatever the situation may be, right? Let me see if I can read it to you here. And it's a game, man. And I'm telling you, these guys are playing it to the umpteenth level. And I commend them. Don't get me wrong. See, even when you're in war, right? When you're in battle and your adversary, they gives a good, they counter or they attack you in a way that you just didn't see, or you just couldn't comprehend. And you have to give them credit for that, because if nothing else, they've either destroyed you at that point or they've awakened you so that now you can at least try to be prepared for whatever it is that they might do. And believe it or not, whenever you're in competition for anything, you almost have to learn how to be a mind reader. You have to sharpen your skills of discernment, sharpen your skills of patience, and trying not to overthink everything. Meaning, then you have to try and think about all the variables. And if you can cover that, and it encompasses what you think that you may get as a retaliation, as long as you cover the board in that respect. I don't play chess, but I'm talking in terms of what it sounds like chess. But you try to buttress every attack or every opening that you think you have, or everywhere where you think you're vulnerable. You want to put some security there, some support there. So now, with that said, right, I finally realized what Elon Musk and the president are doing. And I know it's in the news saying exactly what they're doing. Saying, actually, in a cursory format, in a cursory statement, what they're doing. Saying that they're doing an audit, they're going through Social Security, they're going through the Pentagon, they're going through the Education Department, they're going through Medicare, they're going through all different other budgets. And let me tell you how this pretty much works, man. It works the same way that this phone shit is working. How any of these cleaner sweeps or kits or apps work. Where they pick up on double phone numbers, double photos, multiple photos of the same, and they eliminate. They go through the process of elimination a whole bit. Well, what happens with, let's say, with the Pentagon, right? There's monies that's in reserve, and these monies aren't necessarily allocated for anything in particular, but they have they have these funds there just in the case of an emergency, or on contingency basis. So it's almost like money in advance, right? And just in reserves, and this money's there in the event that you run out of funds. You can draw down on these funds. Okay, so now I finally got this crazy camera working, but I think it's working on the wrong page. But so hold on. Let's see what happens, y'all. So anyway, the funds, when there's not a particular when there's nothing that's associated with the funds, and not anything that's connected to it, then they feel that this is a grab, right? So we got it. Hold on, y'all. So they feel that this is a grab. Okay. So his camera's about to come on here. So welcome, Sonetquity. Thank you guys for coming on board. So they feel like it's a grab. I'm going to catch you guys up to speed here. And what they would do is they will run, first of all, they will get a list of everyone, and I can give a better illustration through Social Security, right? They will go through Social Security. They will go through every name that's registered, over 70 plus million, and they will run the software, and they will code it, and they would ask for all names that are all points where the names are multiple, where these people have the same names, right? Where they will have the same variation of a name, or they will have the name plus a different middle initial and the same last name, All right, now when that gathers and that brings all of those variations together under one name, now they're going to cross-reference and see, okay, let's check their Social Security. If the Social Securities are different, let's see, because some people are goofy, they'll have a different Social Security, but yet they'll have the same address, right? And if they have the same address, the whole bit, then now that's going to be a red flag. Okay, so then you're going to go in. You're going to say, okay, we have a death certificate on these people's names that's matched with all of these names over here, and then you cross-reference the whole bit. So now, all of those names that were similar, even though a person may live in Connecticut, one John Brown may live in Connecticut, and the other John Brown lives in Washington State. Okay, now they're going to cramp the system. They're not going to pay these people until they determine at their leisure whether or not these are two different John Browns. So they will freeze those assets or freeze those checks or whatever the situation may be. And as I said again, now here's monies in reserve. And they're going to try and disqualify as many people as they can to make that balance in order to make their point, saying that these were fraudulent deals, or either the government software it was a glitch and it screwed up the whole bit. Their information and their software is geared to find things that aren't really there. And just on the smallest of the most minutest of I wouldn't call it a discrepancy, but maybe a spelling deal. My name has two N's in it, right? So now somewhere a clerk or one of the administrative personnel spelled my name with one N or one L, but yet it has my same address. So now they're going to look at, am I getting a check for the Donnell with two L's? I mean, with two N's or two L's? Am I getting a check with the one N and the one L? And if they have the same address, the whole bit, now they're going to look at that as being fraud. Okay? They're first of all going to assume, they want to assume, because they want to make things complicated for you as possible. Even though it was a typo on behalf of the administrative office, they're going to want you now to prove that you are the actual person that's in question. You didn't make the mistake. You didn't make the typo. So now you're going to have to come into the office, because you can't do it over the phone anymore. You have to come in, you're going to have to bring 2 pieces of ID, you're going to have to bring your birth certificate, you're going to have to bring a letter or whatever with your address, and you probably have to take a drug test, man, and a DNA test, the whole bit. I don't know. But the point I'm making is, this is their system. And they're going to go through 72 million. And who's to say, because after, if they don't want to attach any actual discrepancy to their search, and let's say that those numbers fall short of, let's say, 200 billion, okay? Their target is 800 billion, but they only reach 600 billion. So there's an offset of $200 billion. So now we have to find something to attach to that 200 billion, or else, we're stuck. We're not going to meet our goal. So now they're just going in there, just grab, and they can say anything for anyone, right? And they can say this is what it is, and attach whatever names to it, and now they don't have to pay you. And now all of those individuals who was flagged, some for no apparent reason, some for they may have used a lowercase alphabet as opposed to a capital. So now you have to come in and prove that you are the right person, and what they've done, they've made a mistake. It might take you 6 months to get that done. And in the process, now they could have used those funds, man, and replaced them or whatever the situation may be. It's just like floating. It's just like floating a bank account, and that's what they're doing right now. They're floating bank accounts, and see, when they say they're following the trail, you have to understand anything that's done moving forward can be done in reverse. So if they can code and create a software that can go in and find every glitch, then they can create a software that can, in reverse, hide every glitch, everything that it is that they want to do. So, I just want to put you guys on notice, man, because, we are in the fight for our financial lives. We're in the fight for our economic survival. We are in the fight for our cultural and historic preservation. And many of you, man, you're thinking it's bullshit. You get on here and you want to know what Big Meech is doing today. Are there any more charges against Puffy? What stupid is Kanye going to say today? What stupidity? These are the type of things. What rapper just got killed? I'm not saying that any of these things, they aren't newsworthy or attention worthy. But what we have going on right now, and a lot of us like to bury our heads in the sand. We want to bury our heads in the sand and pretend that there's nothing going on. We don't want to look at it because it's too dreadful. Sometimes you got to take your head out of the sand, and you got to stare what's before us face to face. You got to look at it. We are going to need one another. I can't stress this enough. Every day I come on, I'm going to try and share with you exactly what it is that we should do. If you can gather, let me give you the correlation, right? If you can gather 10 million people to come together to vote, now that's just going in, pulling the lever and the whole bit, and that's pretty much it. In hopes of you getting something on the ballot. So let's say that you voted for to continue the funding of HBCUs, right? So now you're going to go through maybe 6 months before you can get the signatures that will place this on a ballot for upcoming election. So you have 2 years for that. So before you see any benefits, you have to wait those 2 years. Or if you do it at any point right now, then you'll have maybe a year or so to go. Either way it go, you have a year. You have a year, 18 months, or 2 years. That's the max. That's before you can see any results on this that you're trying to do. You brought 10 million people together all over this country to move in lockstep, only to have to wait for 2 years to decide if it's going to go on the ballot and if you've won or not. When you can bring all 10 million of these people together and have them to contribute financially into a fund that will keep on giving. And once they place those funds in an account, an interest-bearing account, now in 1 year, whatever your principal is, in 1 year you're gonna earn 10% of that. And when you earn 10% of that, Now you can donate money to the HBCUs yourself, as a people, as a group. You've accomplished what it is that what you're begging the government to do. You've accomplished it already. And now you you complete, or you duplicate the same thing that you've just done for that. You do it for all other things that are needed for us as a people. Good morning, good morning. Who we have here? Good morning, Mary and Angela. Thank you guys for coming on board. You know, you're kind of far away. I had to come close here. So, you see, systematically, mathematically, it works. I get so tired of people saying, you know what, that's a good plan, but I don't think it's going to work. Well, first of all, you know, that's an oxymoron. That's an oxymoronic comment. I think it's a good plan, but I don't think it will work. Okay, now just that. Let's stop there. Now you follow up with, why won't it work? Because I don't think the people will go out and vote the whole bit. Okay, but if that's the only thing standing between it working and not working, then why not work on what you deem to be the negative that will keep it from working? And as I stated one day, you know, the difference between me and many other people, man, people will find 100 ways to see why something won't work. Well, I will try 100 ways to make it work. You know, I had a very prominent attorney. He's an attorney. I had a very prominent attorney. I presented something to him on a business model. And he said, Ford, man, this sounds like a great idea, man. I can see how this work, Ford. I can see how it work, man. We can make a lot of money on this business idea. Okay? I said, great, man. Good. He said, but look, I have one question. I said, what's that? He said, man, is this legal? I mean, you know, is this legal? Can we do this? Simply because it hadn't been done before. He had scruples, you know, he had some scruples about it. You know, he had some misgivings. But I said, Mr. Stevens, may he rest in peace. I said, Mr. Stevens, you're the attorney. I said, you're the attorney, Mr. Stevens. So he said, well, I'm just trying to figure out. I said, well, Avon hasn't been shut down, have they? Amway hasn't been shut down, have they? He said, no. I said, Mr. Stevens, you know what's the difference between you and I? He said, what's that for? I said, you look for 100 ways. I said, I look for 100 ways to get away. You look for 100 ways to get caught. You know, and there's a difference and there's a mindset. You know, I know it's a parable, sound like a joke, but it's the truth. It's the truth. I think that your mind projects and it brings to fruition what it is that it conceives. And if all you're thinking about is getting caught, you'll get caught. And if all you're thinking about is getting away, you'll get away. It's a very thin line, but it's just a matter of adjusting your mind. So what I'm saying is the examples that I've given you by the numbers, our $1.7 trillion that we spend a year, that if in fact black folk were a country, we would have the 10th largest economy in the world. Okay? That's 10. And we invested those funds collectively in one central investment bank. And then now let that bank, or those finance, first of all, we will get together a consortium, a group, if you will, all right? And you will bring about all the top people in the medical fields. They don't necessarily have to be black. You want to bring them on board, but let's say that they are black. You want to bring all the top people in the insurance industry. all the top people in the education industry. We already have our monies with the top groups that are investing. And then we'll bring on the top investment advisors. And then we'll bring on other businesses dealing with technology. And we'll deal with real estate and what have you. So all of these entities are in place now. We brought all of them together. We have a base or foundation of $1.7 trillion that's in the bank. And now these are the community building entities. That's what we will call them. We will call them a community building entity, a people building. Everything that goes into building an empire or building up our communities. It's a package deal, right? They're going to do a template of what a community should have in terms of, first of all, the people, affordable health care, where it would be free because our funds will take care of it. So you got that. Education. We can either put money into private schools or whatever, or we can pay into many of the public schools that now have to going to get funds from the state. All right, we can deal with that. Now, we're talking about placing these buildings or whatever situations into our communities. What a lot of people talk about when they talk about Michael Jordan and LeBron James and who's the GOAT, and I don't mean to deviate for a minute, but I just want to point something out. Michael Jordan has built 4 community hospitals for the underprivileged. He's built 4. Nobody talks about that. He's had 4 hospitals built for people in and around the community that can go like private, like free hospitals, if you will. And I just want to call it that without really screwing up exactly what the name of them are. But these are 4 community hospitals that he's donated, that he's had built for these different communities. So now he's one person. But if we have $1.7 trillion, that's multiplying, that's Michael Jackson multiple times. So now you can put these black hospitals in each of the states that has a large black community. You can place a hospital in these communities. In some cities, it'll be multiple, right? But keep in mind, every year, you will get another $2 billion. Every year, you get another $2 billion. So now you have these people that would have created these dynamics. And they will show you how the monies, with all of these different entities, they will show you how the money would circulate throughout the community. Meaning that every community will have a butcher, a baker, and a candlestick maker. And anything other than that would just be extra gravy. Because what you're basically doing, you're supplying your services and your business to that community. You really don't have to have anybody. You don't have to get on social media and and advertise a barbershop in Chicago on a web page in Miami, Florida. You don't have to do that. Because the dynamics are already built in for your community, and it would be a template that will be done all over this country. You don't need to have that. You don't have to ask the government for anything. And see, you don't. When a person is there dealing with finances, right, and he's basically dealing with the comings and the goings of the monies of the funds, they will have a person there giving their estimates on how much this feat is going to cost. And they can adjust for certain communities, for certain cities, and what have you. But let me tell you, when you're spending your money, when you're spending your money, right, and you want to implement a program, You have the budget in which to do it, so you don't have to adhere to most of the time on what a 6,000 square foot home in LA would cost versus what a 6,000 square foot home in Mississippi would cost. It's going to be a difference. It's going to be a difference. But when you have the funds and you have the funding, the whole bit, trust me, you can cut that cost. You can cut that cost, man. You can have your own crew fly out and build the properties or whatever the situation may be. And they do it at one scale as opposed to the scale basically adjusting the whole bit. Because one thing's for sure, if you set a level for all of these entities and you scale it at a certain level, and in some cities it's going to be above that scale, above that level, and in some cities it's going to be lower. So see, it's all going to balance out. It's not going to balance out to zero. You would have earned a profit. And this is basically what we call doing addition by subtraction. Because this company is so busy working, right? And they're keeping jobs. They're keeping activities. They're sending people all around the country to work and to build. You just need to have all of these different departments together and let them draw up a plan for everything a black community needs to flourish and survive. And once they paint that picture and once they create that template, they do it, they experiment in 2 or 3 cities. And then after that, it just takes off. It just takes off. See, just like Habitat for Humanity and these other entities that goes around the country, building houses, the whole bit. See, if they had more people and more funds, they could possibly build more houses. They could possibly do that. And that's what we would do for us as a people. You have to deal with what works. You know, if you keep adding 2 plus 2 and it keeps coming out to 3, then obviously you're doing something wrong. But as long as 2 plus 2 equals 4, and that's the format, you don't have to deviate from it. It's going to always be 4. It's going to always be 4. So on any properties that you build, first of all, to start it is 2. To complete it is plus 2. The end results are 4. You won. And this is the way that this has to be addressed. This is the way that this has to be carried out. It's not no heavy thinking, man, as to what can make a community flourish and what can make a community grow. You influencers out there just need to influence the people to do their share. Because the system is not going to fail. As the scenario I just gave you, 2 plus 2 equals 4. All right? The first 2 is the building of it. The second 2 is the completion. Now, any one of those out of the equation, of course, is going to fail. If the first 2 didn't build, and if the first 2 started and the second 2 didn't complete, we just have to go to completion. Behind me is our compensation plan for Sonetquity. And I look at all the other network markets, and this is why I designed. I'm gonna give you my reasons for designing my system this way. This is an everyman system. This is an everyman system. This system was not built from greed. First of all, we charge $65 to come on board. All you have to do is sponsor 5 members. You can sponsor 5 members one time and never have to sign up anybody else again. All right? And after that, it's just like a Ferris wheel. It rolls on its own volition. right? It rolls by itself. You don't need to sign up anybody else if you choose not to. But now if you get hungry or you get a bit greedy, then you go out and you signed up more people. See the way most compensation plans are today. Everybody's using the same structure, binary, matrix, and what have you. All right. Even some of the other ones are using 5. But what they want to do, they want to increase your membership, your sign-up fee. And they make it very, very stringent upon you in order to stay a member, in order to stay active. See, they don't care about you signing up. They really don't care. They really don't care about you, whether you sign up somebody else or not. All they want you to do is to pay your monthly fees. All right? And it could not be fees. It could be just you. It could not be fees. It's just you purchasing. It can be in the way of you paying a monthly subscription fee, or you buying a product. And you have to buy so much of a product every month. Now, I think they're truly, truly ripping you off if they make you pay a monthly fee on top of buying the product. So what happens is this. It's not bad, but I just think you're taking advantage of a people that's already being downtrodden, people that are already having financial problems. I think that it's really, you're taking advantage of these people. But if everyone signs up and do what they're supposed to do, everyone will make a nice chunk of money. But you have many people that can't afford to pay your onboarding. Some of these companies charge $300, $400, $500. Many of the cryptocurrencies in the whole bit, for you to actually come on board, you have to pay roughly $3,000. Who has that? Not many of us, right? So this was built not from greed. It was built from necessity. And I know people say, well, man, all I'm going to get back is, they're looking at what they're getting back in one return. I had a guy, he's a pretty big player in the network marketing industry. And I saw the way I was able to see how he thought. But I'm not going to say he wasn't able to see how I thought. He didn't care. He said, first of all, $65 was just a little bit of money. My point exactly, considering. And then number 2, he was saying that, man, all I'm going to get is just $25. All I'm going to get is just $5 back in return for every person I sign up. Yes. See, he wasn't looking at it the way I was looking at it. And what I mean by that is this. He wanted to get as much as possible off of every person that he signed up. He wanted to get the max. He wanted to get a large amount, percentage-wise. But don't you know, every drop of snow that falls from the sky is just one little flurry. But when it falls repetitively, you see what happens. It can blanket an entire city. Our system is based on consistency. It's based on a little at a time. A little at a time, right? And as it builds its momentum and it continues to turn, then before you know it, you can have you can be filled with snow so much that you'll have an avalanche. There's that saying that goes, it's hard by the yard, but it's a cinch by the inch. So with just an inch of snow at a time, you can build a mountain of snow. So now when you have that much money circulating, now you have more people making money on a broader scale. And now these people, the more money they make, the more money they're going to spend back into the community, back into the economy. So that fuels the wheel to turn even more, because now the wheel is going to turn at a greater speed, because these people that once had no money are going to spend more money. You constantly want to feed. These are the demographics that you constantly want to feed. You constantly want to feed these demographics, right? And that's just my point. There's a reason why nobody's coming to your store on a regular basis, because they're not having money on a regular basis. They have to decide between their wants and their needs. They have to make these decisions. And if they're spending $1.7 trillion a year on goofy stuff, then that tells you what their decisions are. But if you have enough for your entertainment, your leisure, and your necessity, money's circulating, guys. Money's circulating. So that's one way that we can do that. And you know, there are people who can explain this far more articulate than I. But if nothing else, I can show them how the system would work. It's just like an assembly line, man. And that's what we could call it. We can call it a community assembly line. Because a template for an underserved community here in Texas could also be the template that would work for an underserved community in Ohio, in Michigan, in Massachusetts, in Illinois. Poor people all over the country are experiencing things that affects poor people. You know, I don't care if you live in Tennessee, Florida, Mississippi. Poverty looks alike in all those places. Poverty feels alike in all of those places. Being underserved smells alike in all of these different places. So, you know, I just think all of our brilliant people, all of our smart people, let's come together. And right now, it's not about trying to, you know, if you have 100 different ways for something to go, keep in mind, to bring all these people together, first of all, that's the first step. That's an accomplishment. Now, there's going to be some that may not stay, that may not listen, or may not continue to listen. That's fine too. But you brought over 10 million people to the table. That's a plus. That's a testimony in and of itself. Right? A testament. So, and now you present to them all the things that are affecting us as a people. And they agree on that. And understand that if we have 60 different ways that we want to implement something, okay, you have 60 different ways, but keep in mind, we're dealing with this chronologically. Let's say all of our problems are 1 through 10. So see, whatever it is that you choose as problem number 1, it must leak and spread into problem number 2 in solving or settling that problem. And number 2 must roll over into 3. If your system and if your selection doesn't make sense going into the system that follows it, or the number that follows it, then that tells you that your problem or your issue, your solution, it doesn't work. That tells you right there that it doesn't work. We want it to be streamlined and have some symmetry. It must work from 1 through 10. There's no exception. It's just like the example that I gave the other day. I gave this to a gentleman that's very, very articulate, very intelligent, the whole bit. And I told him that I can cancel out a debt of $1,200, 12 different entities, with one $100 bill. And he said, okay, go ahead and do it. And it's not magic. The magic is in the concept, but it's not magic. And here's how it works. A guy looking to rent a hotel event room. He goes to the hotel and he goes to the manager. And he said, hey, I'd like to take a look at your event rooms, please, your ballrooms. We're looking for a place to throw out an event. The manager said, okay. He said, I can have someone come around and show you, but you must leave a $100 deposit. The guy left a $100 deposit with the manager. Okay? The guy walked around, while he's walking around looking at all the rooms, the hotel manager ran out and ran over to the butcher. And he paid off his $100 debt to the butcher. The butcher ran over to the farmer and paid off his $100 debt. The farmer went over to the machinist, and paid off his $100 debt. The machinist went over to the vet, paid off his $100. The vet went to the florist, paid off his $100 debt. The florist went over to the chauffeur and paid off his $100 debt. The chauffeur went to the photographer, paid off his $100 debt. And the photographer went to the hotel and paid off his $100 debt. At that particular time, the gentleman that wanted to rent the room, he comes out. He said, hey, your rooms are too small. I think we're going to need something a little larger. So I'm going to continue my search. Could you return my deposit, please? The clerk reached in his desk, hand over the $100. That gentleman was on his way. That was the very same $100 bill that he gave to that hotel manager in our initial example. That one $100 bill circulated that entire community. And I call it the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. It circled all the way around. When I write it down, the illustration looks much better, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. Now, this is where the magic, first of all, let me show you. At any point, any one of those merchants, any one of those business owners made the decision not to take care of their bill. And let's say they say, hey, look, it's my wife's birthday. I'm going to throw a party for her instead. I'm going to use this 100. And then I'll just wait until tomorrow for the next 100 to come, or whatever, my way. Who knows when that's going to happen? If any one of them would have made that decision, that system would have failed them. Not really. They would have failed the system. Because by each and every one of them cooperating and doing their share for that economy, the system worked. And therein lies the magic. That's where the magic is. The magic is you continue to pay it forward. See, the more you pay it forward, you keep that stream of income open to return back to you. And just about every dollar that comes into a community will circulate just that way. It's a very simple example, ladies and gentlemen, but you must read the power that's in it. And that's how community sustains. That's how businesses flourish. And if we set that example and use it as a template for every underserved community in this country, I don't care if it's black, brown, Hispanic, whatever the situation may be. Many of them are already using this system. We created this system. It's almost like Steve Jobs and Apple. Steve Jobs created Apple. Steve Jobs founded the company. Steve Jobs was fired from his own company. You see, Steve Jobs was fired from his own company. So he went out and he started a competing company. But then sooner or later, Apple rehired him. And he became the head of his business all over again. We as a people, we've created mathematics as we know it. We've created all of these financial systems to sustain a community or an empire. We built it. But then once we got separated from our history, from our forefathers, we lost it. So that's akin to Steve Jobs being fired from what he built. So now we are the black community that's on the outside looking in, like Steve Jobs was in the beginning. But now we're looking to come back in. We're looking to come back in, ladies and gentlemen. And look how successful Apple is right now. So that's what we need to do. We need to come back as a people. Okay? Excuse me just a second.
Hey! I didn't know you was here tonight.
Yeah, I'm here.
How you
Yeah, my
doing?
truck's in the shop.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, come on in. Yeah,
I see your mom at the house too.
Yeah. You there?
I'm gonna go check you after this.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm getting ready to wrap up on my podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, here you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you, Mrs. Tony.
Yeah.
When you gonna have another one?
I'll let you know.
Okay.
Yeah. In closing, I just wanted to say that you see, God is good in that respect, because what we created, right? We've been separated from. We've been divorced from. And I'm talking about our financial systems and our banking system and the sustaining of our communities. We created that. But we've been orphaned from it. We've been detached from it. We've been bastardized. So now as it stands, right, we have an opportunity to come back in and to be able to do all the things that it would take to make our communities flourish. And, you know, sometimes you want to thank the devil, all right? Because what happens in that respect is this, though. It causes you to get your shit together. So the things that Donald Trump's doing right now, I'm going to tell you, man, you know, I'm amazed by it if it can wake us up. Because sometimes you need a swift kick in the ass, man, in order to make you get up on your feet. So that's what he's doing right now. We need to come together. We need to know what coming together looks like. And we need to build and move forward from there. All of our brainiacs, man, everybody want to sound the smartest. Everybody want to make things have an illogical logic. Shit's not that complicated. If you hungry, you eat. If you don't have any arms, any legs, any limbs, and you're hungry, then somebody feed that person. It's just that simple. You don't wait and watch that person have to crawl to the plate or to the bowl like he's an animal, right? Here's a person that needs assistance. You know how to assist them, right? Here's a person that's wet. You know that they need to be dried off. It doesn't take any logic in that. And if you get 10 people arguing over how or the best way to dry that one person, by the time you figure arguing that shit, that person is either died or they're already dried. Let's use some logic, ladies and gentlemen, and let's use some love, and let's use some unity. So you guys go out and have a great day, and thank you for coming on, and enjoy your Thursday, Throwback Thursday. God bless you. Peace.